Warning, this video will contain very mild spoilers for Digimon Survive. Digimon Survive releases this month, I cannot believe I get to say that, on July 28th in Japan and July 29th worldwide. And while obviously once the game launches we're going to have tons to talk about, including storylines, what ifs, maybe custom Digimon videos, today I wanted to talk about something which I think a lot of people aren't focusing on too much, but is nonetheless I think a huge part of Digimon Survive, and that is that Digimon Survive is ostensibly a kind of new take on a reboot of Digimon Adventure. Not in the same literal way that Digimon Adventure 2020 was a reboot, but Digimon Survive is taking a tons of elements that will be familiar to fans of the Digimon Adventure franchise and making them into something entirely brand new. And I'm here to talk about that today and tell you why actually this is the most genius move that Habu and the team could have made. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to another video, and if it's not welcome back, hit subscribe. Digimon Survive's coming, do it as a treat for me. And yeah, this is something I've wanted to talk about for a little while now, but now that it is July, the game is coming out, we're on the hashtag Road to Survive, I figured it was the appropriate time to talk about how Survive kind of echoes Digimon Adventure in many ways. First of all, I'm going to talk about my own tweet from the end of April, which I think really illustrates some of the core things I'm talking about here. For the longest time, Survive has had this art which heavily echoes the key art of Digimon Adventure. But then more recently in April, when we saw the Greymon evolution, many people noticed that it of course was a direct callback to this scene from the opening of Digimon Adventure. But Survive really does go beyond these little parallels. There is a ton here that lines up very closely with Digimon Adventure. First of all, we have the setup. They are taking part in an extracurricular history studies camping trip, and that camping trip is confirmed to be a summer camping trip, just like the camping trip that the kids in Adventure took. And then of course, once the adventure begins, Takuma encounters a Koromon, just like Tai, which will eventually become an Agumon, when they have to face their first threat. There's also this theme that happens in Adventure 2, where we see things from the real world, but dilapidated, grown over. And this is also a theme in Survive, where they wonder if they time traveled, or did they stray off into another world, because the school building is covered with vegetation and looked worn down and dilapidated. A good example of this is this Digimon Try key visual, which shows all the kids on this dilapidated overground bus. And of course there's this art we got of Digimon Survive, featuring all the cast falling into the sky. Now, where have we seen that before? Of course, there is the opening of Digimon Adventure, the original one where Taichi falls into the sky, which was then expanded upon with the key visuals of Digimon Adventure Try, all featuring falling into blue sky. And this is a really core part of Survive. They have folded this in very intentionally. If we look over at the character bios on the official website, we of course have Takuma and Agumon. That is a straight up send up to Tai and Agumon, which keeps up a naming convention which is very common with goggleheads or protagonist Digimon characters. Taichi, Takato, Takuya, Taiki, and Tageru, among others in like video games, manga, etc. Then we have Kaito and Miyu, and these are straight up our Matt and TK of the whole affair. Miyu could also be seen as doubling up for Kari, being a girl, but there isn't really that connection to Takuma. But Kaito is 100% the Matt equivalent, being right next to Takuma to his right, and Aoi, who is basically the Sora equivalent, being to Takuma's left. As I said, Miyu is the little kid. Her personality is different to TK, but her younger sister role is very similar to TK's younger brother role to Matt. Then we have got Shuji, who is filling in kind of the Joe role, admittedly more visually than anything else. Saki and Floramon, who is just 100% our Mimi reference. These are incredibly similar characters, but I think they're going for more of a calm-natured hippie-ish feel to Saki, but again, it's this kind of like natural and free, always honest with herself and never afraid to share how she feels. There are definitely huge elements of that align with Mimi, and of course Floramon and Palmon being very similar types of Digimon. And then we've got these last two, which is Ryo and Minoru, and I think Minoru fills more of the Izzy role. In fact, he's almost dressed very similarly to Izzy, both having orange shorts and kind of beige-ish pants, and a very similar hairstyle. And then Ryo and Kunimon doesn't quite line up to any kid perfectly, but I think this is more the bug half of Izzy, and because the core 8 don't have a Kari equivalent, we kind of get this like almost slightly asshole-ish, cowardly kind of character who puts on a brave face but cannot hide his fear, which also kind of means that he folds in some elements from Joe, which Shuji doesn't really have, because Shuji does have the pressure from trying to be a prodigy for his family, which is straight up Joe again, and being the leader, but it doesn't seem like he has some more of those kind of cowardly or fearful traits, those reservations about being in the digital world. But you can see from those character bios just how closely they really do line up with the Adventure kids. But you might be thinking, what about Kari? Well, we also have these two new siblings, Miyuki and Haru. Miyuki is the girl and Haru is the younger brother. We saw in this Japanese trailer that there is a ton more adventure stuff happening. For example, pretty much every adventure rookie is in this game. Yeah, here you can see Palmon, Biyomon, and Patamon in not a great situation. But later in this trailer, we do see these kids who initially seem kind of evil. They are connected to the darkness, but also specifically this Garurumon. But there is this clip of this girl absolutely enshrouded by evil and commanding these new evil creatures, which clearly demonstrates that Digimon Survive's story is different. But yeah, these kids are kind of filling a Kari and Gatomon role in the way that Gatomon was initially antagonistic, but then became a good guy. I think that's going to be the same for these kids, and I think it's very interesting that we have a prominent Greymon or Agumon and a prominent Garurumon. Yeah, I think Omnimon is probably coming in this game's end game. Like the last chapter, the last battle or something. We've got Greymon, we've got Garurumon. Feels pretty likely. And we even have a prominent character called the Professor, who at first might seem a little bit different because he is from the real world, but he has a unique perspective on folklore and wrote his dissertation on them. And that's probably going to tie into these Kemonogami, which are like the evil creatures or possibly even the Digimon of this game. Yeah, the Professor is Season 1 Gennai. He's an old, grey-haired, bearded kind of guy. Probably knows a little bit more about Digimon, or at least the Kemonogami, than the kids do. The Professor is Gennai. The name Gennai even means source, or the expert. An expert, a professor, yeah, it's kind of synonymous. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to be thinking. Oh my god, another adventure reference, another adventure sender. But I actually think Digimon Survive is doing the adventure reference in the most clever way possible, because I bet a large chunk of people had not even noticed the adventure references until this video. I know some people are already well aware of it though, but maybe you didn't see quite how many there are. I think a lot of people being sick of adventure is based on the fact that it is used for marketing. Oh, we're going to try and sell this thing, we're going to put adventure on it. Going to make a new reboot season, of course we're going to reboot adventure. Going to make a new line of toys, it's going to be adventure. But Survive is its own thing. It is this dark, creepy tale where kids die. Habu in the most recent stream basically said, fuck them kids. And that it probably is unlikely you'll be able to save all kids in your first run, which is amazing. This dark exploration of Digimon, but using some of the core tenets of the franchise. The thing that made Digimon popular worldwide was Digimon Adventure. The V-Pets were a big factor of that, but it's undeniable that the first Adventure season was the one that really kicked Digimon into a stratosphere almost rivaling Pokemon for a while there. So using the kind of beats, the underpinnings of Adventure, but doing something entirely new with it without relying on the nostalgia of Adventure, I think is a genius move from Habu and the team. And you have to remember, Digimon Survive has had an extended, prolonged development because of development issues and because of COVID-19. Survive was in development, was kind of planning its release-ish around Digimon Adventure's 20th anniversary. Its original release date was 2019, 20 years after Digimon Adventure. Survive isn't just using Adventure for laziness, Survive is using Adventure in homage and tribute, and because it genuinely seems to appreciate Adventure. There is also a bunch of love for tamers. We've got Guilmon, Renamon, Lopmon, and other parts of the franchise. There is tons to be found here and tons to love. But I personally am actually really fond of the way Survive is using Adventure and doing something brand new. And I know kind of like visual novel mixed with tactical RPG isn't everyone's bag, but I love tactical RPGs. And I also like the kind of investigation nature going on here. So Survive taking those elements of Adventure and folding it into something brand new and something genuinely horrific and scary, judging by what Habu's been saying, is delightful for me. But again, if you're sick of Adventure, I totally get that, but I hope this video at least can kind of tell you not to worry, that it isn't a full-on Adventure reboot and is more intended to evoke the feelings and the underpinnings of that show. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you still excited for Digimon Survive? Does hearing that it has a lot of these adventure send-ups make you more excited, less excited? I personally am really looking forward to this game and think it's really important to support games like this because we want to see more Digimon games released worldwide more in future. But do let me know your thoughts down below. Huge shout outs to my Sovereign ZDK14, whose birthday has either been or is about to happen, depending on when this video comes out. Video timelines are crazy. But huge happy birthday to ZDK14, my wonderful Sovereign, as well as everyone else who supports this channel with their hard-earned money. You can see their names on screen right now. It is going to be a very exciting time to be a Digimon fan, and I've got so much more to talk about with you, including Survive, plus a bunch of other Digimon news that's going to be coming out at the end of this month. Check out this video below you because YouTube knows it is the video that you will like the most from my channel, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.